and welcome to Contemporary Black Voices. And my name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, and sitting with me today are Mario Salas and Chris Dawkins. Missing is Caleb Alexander. So we're going to talk about this Nolan Wells case, the young black man who died mysteriously in Mississippi. And across this past 2 decades, what we've been seeing are high-profile cases involving the deaths of black individuals in predominantly white social settings, and they're raising a lot of persistent questions about safety, persistence, and the completeness of official narratives. And we've seen similar situations emerge from cases such as Kendrick Johnson, Tomlin Horsford, Shanquella Robinson, Jordan Neely, and Alonzo Brook, and they shared the same common questions. And then most recently, out of Florida, a young black boy was in a predominantly white environment, and the kids got him out, had him get out the boat and wanted him to swim across. And the boy kept saying, "I can't swim, I'm going to drown, I'm going to drown." But a white family did see him and pull him about. So we're seeing these situations emerge all kind of ways. I do remember the, what's her name, Tomlin Horsford. She was the black woman who went to a sleepover with several white women, and she died. In fact, they're saying that that she fell out of a window drunk. That was mysterious. So what is going on? I mean, it's almost as if our kids are vulnerable to white kids. In fact, I'm seeing on Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere else, white parents are coming forward saying, keep your black kids away from, especially if they're rich, white kids, because there's a possibility they will get hurt. So there's just a lot of questions here about his death, the investigation, especially just questions of the investigation, because supposedly he was left on an island, Horns Island, outside Mississippi, and did not have his phone. In fact, the kids left him, went back home, and they had his phone. And this is called a spade here. What teenager do you know leaves their cell phone, at home, or just leaves their cell phone?
Goes anywhere without the cell phone.
Goes anywhere, all over the place. So there is a pattern here. This is a black, I'm just going to call a spade. This is a black parent's worst nightmare. Mm-hmm. This is a black parent's worst nightmare. What were your thoughts about when you heard about this case?
Well, it reminded me of Jim Jones, where you get a whole bunch of people of color believing what some guy says, and he just happens to be white. It's not a good idea. So you could make the argument that you can't trust white people. And I think that's a valid argument, but also you can trust some white people, so you can't say that applies to all white people. But people would tend to feel that way, especially when you get a situation like this where it looks, the argument that they've made about what really happened sounds mighty shady, fishy to me. So that's a problem.
And all these kids lawyered up.
Yeah.
When they got after they
yeah,
got
and then
home.
they lawyered up real quick.
And one of the kids' parents was a judge.
Yeah, and so, and then the other thing to take into consideration, I remember, unlike Chris, I remember when I was young, and I remember there's something about teenage boys. You can be around with a bunch of your friends out at a party somewhere, and somebody goes north. They used to say south. Somebody goes north. And you never would expect that. Maybe he hauls off and hits you in the jaw because he's a teenager and he's jealous of you for whatever reason, You know, maybe because Chris has 3 girlfriends and he don't have any. and, and so teenage boys are like that. You can't trust them. You know, I remember as a teenage boy getting socked in the mouth. You could call that getting clocked when you ain't looking.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember that happening to me for no other reason than jealousy. And so, I don't know, if you're a teenager and you're hanging around with other teenage guys, you better watch your back, as the saying goes, all the time. You can't be sure that the people you think are your friends are really your friends. And then if they're white, they could be that they're been poisoned by the
Parents.
by racism or by their parents. And so if you're not real sure if they've been poisoned or not, it might be a good idea if you're a young black man and you happen to be by accident or on purpose, happen to be at all-white school or all your friends are white, it might be a good idea to start testing them. And I'd learned how to do that.
How would you do that?
Well, you just start asking them, what do you think about the Black Panthers? What do you think about Black Lives Matter? And when there's something negative comes out, or it doesn't have to be that direct. It could be something smaller. And then you hear something you know is not right, that they've been poisoned by white supremacy, then it's time to I can't trust this guy. So maybe a lot of the young black kids need to be better at vetting their friends.
What about you?
I think that, first of all, it's a tragedy. My condolences to the family. But I would also say that there's going to be a lot that comes out, I think, especially once they look at that phone. That phone, I think, probably is going to have pictures. The phone, I have heard, has messages on it that were deleted. So once they find out that, why would somebody delete those messages after the fact? You're messing with, what do they call it? Criminal evidence? What do they call it?
Obstruction of evidence.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of issues there. They'll find the weak person in that particular group, and they'll start leaning on that person, and more information will come forward.
Well, and you mentioned forensics, electronic forensics. You can't delete anything on the internet.
Right.
You can't delete anything on your phone.
Right.
To where a forensic specialist can make it come right back.
Right.
And the other thing here is, this is a case where Wall Street, Black Wall Street, he was supposedly talking to a white girl, and you can't help but wonder if that was a trigger that caused his demise. And so there's just a whole lot of questions. There's a whole lot of questions I have I have a son, and even though my son is 38 years old, I still have a concern as to with whom he is hanging out with.
Yeah.
And with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to come right back and continue this discussion about Nolan Wells.